early. Just hello. If you can hear me and you can see me, please say hello. Tell me where you're watching from, and then we get started. Oh, now it's 8:30, so that's it. Okay, so let's get started, right? Hello, welcome to Wardrobe School. I'm Vanya. And here is where I can teach you how to make clothes that you can wear, you can sell, you can make cool clothes without crazy patterns and stuff, okay? And today, this class is to get started because a lot of people ask me, like, how do I get started? What's the first thing I can do? And so I decided, since it's the beginning of the year, and I thought it was a good one to do, so everyone gets started, and then you have a plan, and you can achieve your goals. Okay. So is the audio good? Hey, okay, so you can hear. Yeah. So well, I always hear that you have the dream of making your own clothes. You'd love to wear stuff that you made, or you could like make it for your husband, make for your kids, right? And there's like this, I guess it's like a little fear around making clothes that I just wanted you to get over this, right? And start making your own, even if you're a beginner, even if you've never made anything. And here's I am for. And so this is definitely not about, like, I don't want you to become a pattern maker or, like, a professional designer or anything like that. It's just really like, and this, why I'm doing this is because I really believe that the more power we have, the more like control we have over our things, especially in times like now. I think it's cool to have this control. Like, you can make your own stuff, you don't depend on anyone. Also, when you make something, you recognize the value of the work, and you stop buying cheap clothes. When you make something, or when somebody makes something for you, that has more value than just some piece that you buy at H&M. Okay, so that's why I'm doing. It's like some of my friends say I'm starting a revolution, and I want to do that. That's my goal. All right. So I want to ask you, are you a beginner? So because I made a list here, I have a lot of things to talk about, but I want to know if the majority of you are like, have you ever sewn anything? Do you know how to sew? Do you know how to use the sewing machine? And you want to sew clothing, or you've never even touched the sewing machine, because then that changes things. Hi, I can have at the end, if you want to join me, it's okay. Right now, I can't have no one on Instagram because I have a whole sequence. But at the end, if you guys want to join and ask questions and stuff, I would be happy to have you. Yeah. Hi, Marjorie. Oh, you have fear of wasting fabric. Okay. You have sewn before. How about you guys on Instagram? Just started. Make masks. I know a lot of you started making masks, right? Which I like. It's such a sad thing that we had to make masks, but it was a good movement that got a lot of people sewing. So that was good, right? Yeah. You know how to use sewing machine, Marjorie? Okay. Okay. So it seems like you guys mostly sew already. Beginner. Oh, you sew. You're not a beginner then. You want to learn how to cut patterns. Okay. So, all right, we'll talk about, then I'll skip the sewing machine. I actually, this week, I'm going to do lives every day. I think this week and next week, if possible. And it's my plan to do one with the sewing machine. So about all the details and everything, how to get started with the sewing machine if somebody's total beginner. But today, and then we can move on to sewing, mostly sewing clothes. Alter thrift stores, yeah, thrift store clothes. That's great. SARS. I'm starting to draft. Yeah, draft patterns. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, let me know. Um, so I don't know if you guys know my story, but like, I'm not gonna tell my story now. But basically, like, I've been making things for a long time, like for um at least like 10 years, that I've had to figure out how to survive. And then I started making clothes in New York, right? and I had a shop and everything. I mean, I used to have a shop in Brazil. I'm from São Paulo in Brazil. But in Brazil, I always had seamstresses working for me because there's a lot of very talented seamstresses and it's affordable. So I always had other people helping me, even my mom. A lot of my stuff back that I sold in Brazil were made by the other people. I would just design, I kind of showed them how to make, but I didn't really make stuff. Only when I moved to New York City, it was when I had to do some stuff, and then I started sewing. And I mean, like sewing, like really as a job, right? Sewing stuff for people, and I didn't really know how to make clothes. And so I figured out how to do that without having to like study so much. And obviously now I've learned a lot, and I learn every day, and I'm teaching, and the fact that I teach, I learn even more. But so I like to share, because since you all, as you can see now, a lot of people always tell me that they have this fear, and I have to make you guys get over this, because it's just a piece of fabric. You cut it and it's okay, and that's how you learn. And also, um for instance, like my student Gina, right? She posted the other day, I don't know if you guys saw, that she made this shirt that was like, she called it Frankenstein, I guess because she kept patching it and having, you know, and I really appreciate that kind of stuff, because, for instance, when I'm thrifting and I find homemade stuff, I love it because it's special. And I understand a lot of people don't want to wear things that are homemade, but that's how I can teach you, because I know how to make stuff that are homemade look professional, because that's what I sold. I sold like thousands and thousands and thousands of clothes that were, like that. Like I just make it work, and somebody likes it, and then they buy and they wear and they love it. So I think everyone can do it, really. Okay. And then some people say, but you have experience. And it's true, I do have experience at this point, but guess what? I didn't have experience before. And it's fun to learn, it's fun to try. So I really recommend, I'm going to show you things and give you ideas on how you can move on and do things, and which kind of project you can start from and everything. But I'm just trying to encourage you now to, don't be afraid. It's okay. It's a piece of fabric. I'll show you like I actually picked like the craziest piece of fabric I have, so you understand how you can turn that around and make it happen. All right. And then where to start, because I also feel like it's like drawing, right? I like drawing, but sometimes I have like a white piece of paper, and I have paint or like watercolors, and I have the whole thing, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I have no idea, because you don't know how to start from, or anything, right? Cooking and all sorts of new things you want to do. So I get it. Um, and then the fear of messing up. Is okay to mess up. You can always patch it, you can always take it apart, do it again, or just give that to somebody else and put it on the wall because you ruined it, but that was like a symbol of something that you tried, right? So I think that's a good point. And you know it's like, for instance, one thing I know that happens is like people try to start, and I know in the US it's very big, like the pattern companies, right? How like a lot of people work with commercial patterns, and it's wonderful. When I moved to in my country, you don't have that. If you buy patterns, you buy from some small company or somebody that made or something. We don't really have those, like McCall's and Butterick and stuff like that. So when I moved here, I was like amazed by how you can, and I hoard patterns. My husband hates me because of that, because I have so many. It is amazing. But that also is a negative side, because you get a pattern and then you try to make it, and then you get frustrated because it's hard. They make it look easy, right? They put like easy, and then there's that jumpsuit, and then it has like 35 parts, and you're like, oh my god, and you don't know what you're doing. So I would advise you, we'll talk about more like how you avoid this, but try to avoid this frustration. When you start from easy, really easy, and there are patterns that are very easy, or you can just do things that I'm going to give you ideas that are like super really beginner level, not like advanced. Because what happens is, if you go and you try to do something that's too hard for you, then you give up, because like the jumpsuit, 35 parts, and you sew all like twisted, and then you're like, this doesn't work, and then you walk away and you never have you ever done that? I know a lot of people do that. I do that with other things because it's natural that our brain just want to avoid that the difficulty, right? When our brain sees something difficult, it just wants to run away and skip. So start from a doable project and then you move slowly. It's like cooking. I'm not good at cooking. Am I going to start, for instance, if you're going to teach somebody to cook, are you going to have them making a Thanksgiving meal, or just, or boil an egg or something? You have to start from a small project and then you move on. Okay. Hi, Mari. See, yeah, this, and honestly, if you have uh if that happens to you and you get frustrated, okay, just put that in a box and then get something easier, and then you come back to it later. Otherwise you just never sew because you're like, I can't do this, it's impossible. And let me tell you, you can do it's possible. You can make amazing things. Thanks. Thanks. Don't be hungry, Mari. Okay, so yeah, then what could be a first thing that you could do, right? You could possibly um, make, so, and then as I asked you before, are you a beginner or not? If you have ever sewn anything, if you've never sewn anything in your life, the first thing you have to do is to learn how to work the sewing machine, obviously. And then you start to sew some piece of fabric, or you can even sew a piece of paper. You just draw something on a piece of paper and follow those lines. That's how, when I took a class years and years ago in Brazil, and that's how the guy taught us. He would give us like a piece of fabric with drawings, and you had to, like, a piece of paper, and you had to follow those lines with the sewing machine, round. Okay, that's the first thing. If you already sew like a pillow or some stuff like that, a bag would be a first thing I would say. But then make a skirt, right? Like, even in professional pattern making classes, the first thing to make is a skirt, because the skirt is the easiest. It's just a thing like that, unless you make some crazy skirt, but you can make a very simple skirt, and then you can achieve your goal to have a garment. Okay, so that would be a first thing to do. And then you can move on to a shirt, because a shirt has at least two parts. And you can make, and I do have classes on all around on my channel, on Facebook and YouTube and even Instagram, how to make a simple shirt. If you go to my IGTV, you find the how to make a simple shirt pattern. You just copy from your own shirt, and try. And I promise you, it will fit, and you have this piece of clothing, and that also will make you encouraged to make something else. So it start from something simple like a bag or a pillowcase, and then you make a skirt, and then you make a shirt, and then you can make a jacket, right? And I have some pieces here I can show you the difference between something, there are jackets and jackets. You can make like you guys saw this that I posted the other day. It's like, it looks like the sky. That jacket's simple, but it has a few complicated things. So that's not the most easy one. But I show you the ones. Tina, Raglan t-shirts are supposed to use. Yeah, I guess Raglan. If you have the pattern already, because the Raglan shirts, you have to figure out how to do it, right? Jacket. So let me show you guys, and then we'll talk about the tools and stuff. Let me show the pieces I grabbed here. And all those I made in classes that are around on YouTube and everything you can find. So first is this bag, right? That's easy. But what I want to show is like how I play with the fabric, right? Because you can make simple things and play with the prints and stuff and the textures and stuff like that. So that um, compensates if it's too simple, but then it compensates with more complicated prints and fabrics and something like that. But don't start from silk, okay? And we'll talk about fabrics and stuff. Lingerie is a little more difficult because you said you started with simple projects and then went into lingerie. Lingerie is kind of a higher level. You know why? Because it's stretchy. Stretchy fabric is difficult. And the elastic part, when you have to add the elastic, then you have to practice, right? If you want to make underwear like lingerie, stuff like that, you have to practice the how the machine works with the elastic and the stretchy fabric. Your all the settings on the machine have to be specific, and you have to have what I would do is like I would set up the machine for that and work only with that, because the stitch is going to be different. The needle, you need a specific needle, and you have to have good control of it. That's the thing. Okay. But it's possible, but you have to like focus. If you really want to do it, what I would recommend is use of get fabric that's not too stretchy, which you can do lingerie with. It doesn't need to be lycra, really. Just do a little less like t-shirt material because it's easier. Okay, so that was bag, right? This is another example of a upcycle, right, that I've done, and it's also a thing that will make you happy. I just want you to achieve something that you're encouraged. Okay, and this kind of stuff is cool because the shirt is kind of done already. So sometimes, for instance, that one I posted yesterday that I came live to show you, it had the buttons. The hard part of a shirt, like of a men's shirt, is the collar and the buttons. And if you're upcycling, that shirt already have a collar and the buttons, and you just change stuff around, and that will turn into a shirt that for you or for somebody else will be wearable and awesome. If you choose a fabric that, if the material is something you like and stuff like that. And this is an idea. So I know if you took this class, you probably know that I did like a nice finishing here and stuff, which is a little more, you have to be more advanced to know. But you don't need to do this finishing. You could just let the lace itself. So that you just crop it, hem it, and put pieces of lace, or you can just change the piece of fabric. A shirt, for instance, I'm wearing this button up, right? You can just take one side and put another fabric that's like fun, and then that shirt is already renewed and it's cool, and then is a new piece of clothing for you. Okay, so this is an idea, upcycling, and I'm a huge fan of upcycling and reusing and stuff. So that's it's cool. Okay. Okay, so then a skirt. This is also a piece that I made in a class, and that's the easiest skirt. I think I even call it the easiest skirt ever because it's just a piece of long, two pieces of fabric, and you put an elastic in the middle. And I'm going to show you how to make this. I'm not going to sew everything, but I'll show you how you can make. If you never made any garment, that's a garment you can make tomorrow or today. Okay. Then the next one is this one that I did also in the live class. And it's a boxy shirt, which I copied the pattern from my own shirt and then made it. And so, even me that I have experience, but the collar is not perfect. It was too short, but it still is wearable. I wear it many times. I always show in classes because it's just an example of a shirt. And hey, you buy shirts like that for like $100 because that's like it's stylish and people like it, and you can do anything from this. You can make a dress, you can make long sleeves, you can apply things, you can print, you can make different materials, even a jacket you can make from this simple pattern. All right, let's see. Hi, you just tuning in. Yeah, thank you for joining me, Pilar. Awesome. So right, and then this is the jacket that was like such a success on Instagram, right? I posted, everyone loved it, and it's cool. But what is about this jacket that everyone like is the fabric. It's not even me. I didn't, it's not like I've created this amazing design and it's awesome. And guys, not for nothing, but like people really like my stuff. When I had the shop, oh my God, a lot of people loved it. I have a lot of clients. I still have clients, but my store is busy all the time. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm such a genius that I'm a pattern maker. No, I just put things together. And this jacket is the easiest jacket you can make because it's just one square thing. Look, it's, I mean, it has the sleeves, but doesn't have any, you know. I did have, I put finishing, the facing, but you don't really have to put facing. You can just hem it or just put a zigzag, and it's easy. And then there's a cool jacket. And what it is the fabric that's cool. And you can find, and each one have, we all have like different tastes, right? I like bold colors. I'm Brazilian, so like I like colorful stuff, and so that's my vision. But you can have your own vision and just play with it, right? Yay! Hi, Barbara. Yeah, that's a classic shape. It's like a simple, and it fits everybody, right? That kind of jacket, and that's it. So then let me show you the piece of fabric. Oh, and then let's talk about the tools, right? 'Cause, okay, so there are a bunch of tools that you can have, and especially in the US, if you go to a sewing store, no, you're like, oh my god, you want to spend $1 million. I always tell my husband, like, when you want to give me something, give me a, a what do you call it, store credit, like $1,000 for like art supplies or something, or sewing supplies, because I can spend. But the reality is, you don't need much stuff. You need a sewing machine, or you can sew by hand, but it's going to take a long time. I do recommend you to have a sewing machine, and you can find used ones for cheap. I have a class there on IGTV, and I think on Facebook, on how to choose a sewing machine, a vintage one. You can find sewing machines for like $15, $20. Okay. Yeah, we always want to buy tools, but what happens is we get stuck with all this stuff that we don't need. So hold on. Okay, so you need a sewing machine, you need some fabric. You don't need to go crazy buying a bunch of fabric. You just need like fabric that are simple, especially if you're a beginner. You don't want to go with silk unless it's like, there's another conversation. We can talk about fabric another time. But to start, you just need some simple cotton, non-stretch fabric, some stuff. And then you can, and I like the challenge of making cool stuff out of weird stuff. That's the challenge. And I'm going to show you the fabric I have here, and then we'll see. So the tools you need are a pair of scissors that I got this fancy. It's probably the most fancy one I got for because it was half off and it's really good. But any scissors that it has to be new or sharpened, and only for fabric. So you probably know that if you're already a sewist. You need chalk. I like this thing that comes in the it's like a pencil, but you just get tailor's chalk. It's cheap and lasts like years. The same one if you don't break it. Sewing pins. And I do recommend to invest in good sewing pins, because if you get those thick, cheap ones, they ruin your fabric. Okay. If you're just starting out and your fabric is not expensive, fine. But if not, get the glass head ones that are for thin, very thin ones, because they are safe and they're not going to ruin your fabric, and you can use it on any fabric. And then you need like rulers and a measuring tape. That's all you need. And probably paper, but you can use newspaper or wrapping paper or craft paper. Okay. So that's all. Oh, and then this tool, there's the seam ripper. Okay. And you need the most important, that's the iron. But you probably have it, or your mom have it, or has it, or somebody, your neighbor, because it's important. Now I say the iron goes hand in hand with the sewing machine, because you always have to press. And this is one of the biggest secrets of making well finished clothes, is to press at every step. When you sew something, you want to press the seam open or press the other side, and because that makes not only easier for you to visualize what you're working with, but also the result is way better. All right. Okay, materials. And then, okay, this is this is the wheel, the tracing wheel. That's great. You need that, but you cannot. There's other ways to do it. It's not required. All right. And then thread, good thread. But to be honest with you, like I never really use much good thread. Now that I have a Bernina is a little annoying with. I love it, don't mind. But it doesn't like working with cheap thread. So I'm learning about how to use better thread and stuff. But I never really cared. I was and in terms, the thread for the clothing is resistant, but the machine doesn't like because it has some um, like a little fur, and then it tangles the machine. Okay. Did I say measuring tape? You need a measuring tape, which is cheap. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you how you can make something weird turn into something cool. Okay. And so during the pandemic, we're still during the pandemic, but in the beginning of the pandemic, I came here to Vermont, and I'm still in Vermont, but I was staying at my friend Adam's, and all I had was a sewing machine, my older sewing machine. That's that brother you guys see me using. And because I was like, I'm gonna sew, so I brought a few things and bought that. And I didn't have much. I brought fabric, but I didn't have a lot. And my friend Susan, who lives here, she works. She has a company that makes homewares and stuff. And I called her, and but it's fancy. Her company is like super expensive, so every fabric is fancy. And I couldn't ask her for real fabric, but I was like, "Do you have anything old? I just need like a white sheet or something that I can print." And she's like, "Oh, I have like." She's like, "What for?" And I said, "I forgot what I was trying to make. Maybe testing masks or something." And she only works with natural fabric, and I like natural fabrics. And she said, "Okay, I have this recycling bin. I'll grab something to use." And so because she makes homewares, she has all this sheeting, right? Sheets, and and then she gave me this sheet that, look, it's all because I guess it went uh, moldy, so it has this mold. I washed it a few times, but it's clean, but it has these mold spots. And this, I'm not gonna make it now, but I can make later and show you guys. So what I would do with this, because the most important part is this fabric is really quality. So it feels good. It's 100% cotton. I think it's made in, so I don't know where, somewhere cool. And that's what I care about. I care about the quality of the fabric. Is it gonna feel good to me? On my back when I wear. Is it gonna how it falls? So this would be a perfect material for anyone to start sewing, because it's the weight is perfect. It doesn't stretch, and it's white, and you can do anything. So what I would do, if somebody gave me the challenge, like, Vanya, make something like Project Runway, make something from this that is in half an hour. Okay, let's say that's the challenge. What I would do is I would probably make a skirt. Okay, so if I would to recommend you guys what to do, I'll do a skirt, and see, that would probably be enough, to be like knee length. And so I would cut in two. First, iron it. Every fabric, even when you get a new from Joann's or some other store, you want to iron it because it has wrinkles, and the wrinkles change the result. So you don't want to work with a wrinkled fabric. Then I would make a skirt, because the skirt is easy, right? So, and how do I do that? I just see what's my waist. My waist is like this, but then I want a little wider, right? And I can just cut two pieces here. So I measure it, something like that, and cut it. And then, I don't want to stay long here, but I just wanted you to see how it's not hard. Okay. Look, so I have this piece, and then I can have two pieces. All right, so I have these two panels here. So then I go and sew on the side, on the side. All right, and then I go, and depends on the level, it's, if you like know how to work with elastic or not. But then you can just fold it. You sew, and then you have a sack, right? And then you fold one side, like that. Make a When you have the whole thing, you make one loop around. It's like a casing, they call, the right way to say. And then you just do a stitch, leave one opening, and through that opening, the whole thing, you can pass an elastic. And then you stitch the elastic either by hand or by the sewing machine. And then you have a sack that is a skirt. Okay, but then you're like, but Vanya, this is horrible. It has these mold stains. Yes, but you can dye this and you can print. You know how I do printing? We can do a class on printing. Actually, my friend asked me to do it. I should. And then you print this. And because the material is wonderful, it will be cool. Okay, you just need to like make sure you work with material that you know how to work with, and have imagination. You can do appliques. There's my Facebook group. There's this lady, what's her name, Robin. I don't know if Robin's there, but Robin makes beautiful appliques. So she goes and thrifts clothing that have flowers, roses and stuff, and she cuts around the roses and then appliques around like with zigzag. So this could be another idea. You just go and then place things, or you incorporate the stains with something else, or just dye it, right? And with even tea or coffee. And then you do the hem, and then you have a skirt. Now, if you join a shirt with this piece, okay, because I could also make just like a little shirt, right? And cut here, make a tank top. I have this Japanese book that's super cool that actually the designer make. It's like a tube dress that it's more open here under the arm, because then it fits everyone. And it does look interesting, because even though if you think like, oh, but this is not fitted, it's not, but it looks cool when you wear, if you make this the right fabric. Okay, so just are things for you to think about. And why I'm saying that, because the minute you have something that you finished, you'll be so amazed. Like you can wear, and you put the skirt on, and you're like, I made this skirt, and you have love for it, and you want to wear. And then people are like, where is the skirt from? You're like, I made it. It's incredible. Okay, I promise. Then you want to make more, and you want to learn more, and keep going. So that's what I encourage you to do. Go ahead, make something, try. Okay, and try to avoid frustration. Don't try to do crazy projects because it's hard, and then you're going to give up. And patterns, if you, because that's the thing. For instance, I don't shop. I live in New York City, so I have the fashion district, and I'm a thrifter. I'm a like crazy thrifter. Okay, huge. I love it. Like on my birthday, if you ask what do you want to do, I want to go to the thrift store. I really love it because if I find stuff. So I find things all the time. But if I go to Joann's, for instance, I don't like going to Joann's because it's all like, what do you call, too like new and obvious. But some places like here, we don't have options. That's the store we have, and great. So then I learned how to like. If I'm there, sometimes they sell patterns for cents, for like 25 cents, like a quarter. And I know how you feel when you see that. You're like, oh, I could make that skirt, I could make that jacket, I could make that. But be careful, because if it's not your level of sewing, you're not going to be able to finish it. Okay, so if you are at the store or at the thrift store or anywhere, and you see patterns, try to find the most simple one, that one that has less pieces. Okay, sometimes it's just like, and there's those they have those that they're like super easy, so easy, that are 2-hour dress or something, because it's like one piece, or like, just the sleeves and the piece. That's fine, you can try that, but don't go for the pockets ones with like, because that's just gonna make you frustrated. Okay, and the other thing you can do is observe. um oh, thank you for joining. Nikki, awesome. Yeah, don't, because we were like, there's so many ideas. I can show you guys, I have a million patterns, but I feel frustrated. I'm telling you this, but I feel frustrated because I don't have time enough to finish it, right? And the other thing is, pay attention to clothing. uh there, I have, for instance, this coat that is from Dries van Noten, right? The friend of mine gave it to me, and it's a sample. It's like a raincoat, and it has at least 20 pockets. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous coat with like pockets inside, lining, zippers, crazy. But I don't value that jacket more than this one that I just showed to you, because what's the point? I just see somebody working like crazy to make that coat for no reason. Okay, so sometimes simple is beautiful. There's the designer Elizabeth Suzanne. I don't know if you guys know. She makes beautiful linen pieces that are simple, absolutely simple. Sometimes we put a pocket on the front. It's usually like crop, like boxy shirts and stuff. People love it. It's beautiful because it's simple. Okay, and and one thing. And so go to your closet, or when you're at a shop, or shops you like, or places you like. Observe the clothes. Like, pay attention. Look at the construction. How is that made? It was actually how I learned, because I knew sewing, and then when I moved to New York, I worked at a store. It was a vintage store, and this lady had me helping her mending the clothing. She would buy the vintage clothing. I was a salesperson there, and I helped her mending. It was in the Lower East Side in New York, and I that's when I started to understand how dresses were made, because a lot of vintage stuff are handmade, and I was like, oh, this is how this lady constructed this dress. And then I started to get into it. So turn your stuff, when you're doing laundry. And I'm not talking about like all this bunch of t-shirts we have. They're like, no, some different pieces. Turn it inside out. And then you see how the construction is, how the pocket comes out, because then you learn and you see how you can do it as well. Okay. And then one other thing is books. So I also have a million books, but I just picked some here for you guys to see. And this I got a couple weeks ago. This company is very cool. Merchant and Mills. They sell fabric. They're in England, and they have patterns and stuff. I never tried their patterns, but this book is cool because they have like simple projects that you just start. It's and there's like drawings and descriptions and stuff. So this is one I recommend. And then I love vintage books, right? So because if you're thrifting, or on eBay, if you see sewing clothing books and stuff, you can find cool ones. Like, for instance, this is this lady that I Googled her. She doesn't even exist anymore, but she has such good illustrations and also information on how to construct clothing. Okay, so that's cool. Even if you're not going to follow everything, but you can just, when you're calm, taking a tea, like trying to relax, you can look at this and learn a lot from those books. And they're cheap and awesome. And that's the thing about sewing. It's a thing that is always the same. The rules don't change much, right? Years and years ago, we still follow the same stuff. Like my mom, she's 78, and she sewed in her life, and she has her first sewing book when she first sketchbook notebook, and that was like, I don't know, 1950 something, and it's the same thing. And so I recommend you get vintage sewing books for cheap, because they're so pretty that makes you want to make it, so that's one thing. This one is another one that I found on Marketplace the other day. I couldn't help it, but I bought it, the Bishop method, and it's how you construct pieces. It's very cool, and all the rules are the same. They just explain different ways, and it's interesting. And then this one is a little expensive, but the Vogue it's a Vogue sewing book. It's a classic. They say this is the Bible for sewing, and it's not so much about clothing only, but it shows how to construct every color, everything. This is the revised and updated, which is a little more harder to find and more money. But then they have the vintage ones that is like $15 you find on eBay. Vogue sewing book. They have everything that explain fabrics, and don't get overwhelmed. This is the thing. Like, for instance, inseam pockets. And then you go, if you want to you're making your skirt, for instance, and you want to put pockets, and then you go here and look how to make inseam pockets. And then YouTube, of course, and me, you can always follow me. Oh, and by the way, I'm having I was supposed to tell you in the beginning. I'm gonna have a workshop that I'm gonna talk all of this in more details, and it's free. It's gonna be on February 2nd, from 2nd to 8th, will be videos, and you can sign up in my bio. It's called My Soul Clothing Week. So join me, and I'll show you. You know, we can go over this like in more depth. All right, and then there's a bunch of other books. Try, don't be afraid. And fabric is just a piece of fabric. Get an old sheet, get somebody's old shirt, so you can cut. This is great. You know, go to the thrift store. Sometimes they have like dollar. At least like here, they have a store that they have a dollar rack, and there's always some men's shirts there. They're cotton, they're quality, but nobody bought it, so they put for $1. Those are like gold for you because you can take them apart and make anything. And if you want to make like somebody, I forgot her name. If you're watching me, I'm sorry, I forgot. But I promised her that I was gonna try to make a skirt with two men's shirts or a few men's shirts with she wants with the button in the front. For that, you need more than one, right? Then you get a few shirts and you put them together, and it's great. Don't be afraid. And if you messed up, you can always sew back together or get rid of it or make something else from it. Okay, Barbara. Oh, I can list the books. Yes, I can place a little list on the description right now. I can't do it, but I can do on post on the page. You're on YouTube, right? But what if I post? I'll post on stories on the Instagram, okay? And then you can all have it. All right. So I'll list, and if I have something else, I'll list for you as well. All right, guys. So yeah, join me for the workshop. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of lives this week. I think tomorrow I'm gonna talk about jersey, like stretchy fabric, and if you have questions, if you have like some stuff that you were like, Vanya, how do I do this? Message me on Instagram, and I'll consider making a class just to show you specifically what you want to learn. All righty. What else? Yeah, Pilar, it's go make it. And guys, show me. Today this lady showed me the dress that she made for her daughter based on the one that I taught, and it made me so happy. Please, I want to see what you make. Okay? If this is helping you, uh let me know that at least I know that's working. All right? Okay, then that's it. So I'll see you tomorrow, and just message me anytime and we can chat. All right? Okay. So on Instagram, I have to go there. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time.